Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Did you miss out on the awakened mind borer? Are you unlucky enough to still not have the mail muncher? Then now is your chance to gain another giant worm mount? Really, Blizzard? Is that the best we can do? Really? Come on.
Daddy is not coming on any...
Roll intro. So since Shadowlands launch, there has been one secret above them all. One secret that not even the amazing people over at the secret Discord could crack. To the point that it was actually asked on Twitter, hey, is it even possible to currently get this? Blizzard responded with a simple, yep, it's available right now. So the great minds, they went back to work trying to figure this one out.
Check this out.
And after some Da Vinci Code level cracking, one brave or crazy soul, depending on how you think about it, said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into Plaguefall and I'm going to solo the last 2 bosses in that dungeon.
Why?
And I'm not going to lie, that is a good question, but thank God. Thank God that they did, because this has finally uncovered how we can gain access to the Slime Serpent. Yep, that's right. If you want this new worm mount, all you have to do, and I say all with giant air quotations above it, is kill the last 2 bosses of Plaguefall. Either on heroic or mythic difficulty. We have Domina Venomblade, which has been known as the Spider Boss, and Margrave Stradama, or Slime Boss, we're going to call her, Lady Slime. Oh, and of course, you know, just navigate your way around the whole dungeon. Yeah. Now, before we go into the routes and everything else and the bosses, let's take a quick look at the character I actually completed this on. It will come as no surprise to anybody to know that I did this on a tank, and it will really come as no surprise to know that I did this on my Blood DK. Yeah, okay, I know, but let's take a look. So first up, our item level on this little lady is 208. I am using the Super Strain Lego, meaning that my Frost Fever, Blood Plague, and Virulent Plague also apply the other 2 diseases at a reduced effectiveness. We're also running with Ruin of Fallen Crusader, meaning I'm gaining healing, but also getting a very nice strength buff. I also picked for my trinkets the Blood Splattered Scale, which is giving me a little bit of punch in AoE damage, which I'm looking primarily for the Spider Boss, where there's a lot of ads. And, also as a bonus, it's going to give me a large shield as well. The other trinket we're looking at is the Slimy Consumptive Organ. This is all about health and healing for me. It's got a big chunk of stamina. And also, when we get up to 9 stacks of Gluttonous, I can hit the trinket and all those little slimies are going to run towards me and give me a nice little bit of healing. To be honest, I wasn't sure what I was going to be facing going into this solo, given my item level and a lot of the stuff that I've read online. So what I was thinking is, if I've got a more defensive build, if I mess up, then I have a cushion. Sorry, when I mess up. Let's be honest, it's going to be when I mess up, not if. Now, that mindset was the same when I went in and picked my talents. Now, with Blood DK at the moment, it's kind of pretty simple what you're going to pick. So at 15, I've got Heartbreaker. At 25, I've got Homeostasis. At 30, I've got Relish of Blood. At 35, I've got Anti-Magic Barrier. 40, I've got Grip of the Dead. Then at 45, I have Voracious. And at 50, I have Red Thirst. Now, Voracious and Red Thirst were taken again for defensive reasons. Having now completed this, I would say the biggest issue I actually faced was a lack of DPS. So I could quite easily swap those out for, say, Bloodworms and Tombstone, and probably have been better off than I was going for a very heavy defensive build. We will get into that. Let's finish up with my munchies. Again, we're going on a very defensive theme. I had a Stampot. I was using the Steak a la Mode for the verse. And last of all, I took the Healing Oils, which, as I say, was very defensive focused. I'd probably go with now my primary stat pot to gain more strength, and then probably with the Shadow Damage Oil as well. So here we are inside of Plaguefall. Now we'll be doing a no-skip run. Now what I mean by that is that I will not be using anything like invis pots, that sort of thing, etc. Yes, of course, we're going to be skipping trash, we're going to be skipping some of the bosses, but it'll be in the old-fashioned ways, like kind of, aka not pulling stuff. So this dungeon can be broken down into 6 sections. First, we have the approach to the first boss. This is Mushroom Kingdom. On the way to the first boss room, we will have 3 packs of shrooms we need to deal with, while we are hugging the right-hand side of this path. This will end in a fight with the big boy guarding the first boss room. These mobs are a good test to see if you can actually complete this challenge. If you come in, try to clear this little group, and you fail, it's kind of a good indicator that either it's just going to be too damn hard for you and your class or spec, or that simply you're just going to need a little bit more gear before you try this again. Now I will say at this point, I am being very lazy, both in terms of rotation and the mechanics. You'll see that I don't always step out of abilities that are going to hurt me, etc. This is because I know that I can do this, and this isn't really going to hurt me. This is, in fact, my second time of coming in to do this. Don't ask. If you are in a non-tank class, lower item level, etc., then you're going to be slightly more careful than I'm being here. So the big guy has finally fallen, after a little while, and now it is on to the first boss room and the trash beyond. A lot of this now we are going to skip. As you can see here, we're just basically going to jump into the slime, hug the wall, onto this little platform here, and basically avoid the large mob that patrols the outer edge of the first boss platform. And this leads us into section 2. We're going to skip all of this trash by heading left and hugging this wall. Now I am going to pull this bird here. We're going to take this all the way to the very end before we deal with it. If you have something like paralysis, etc., you can avoid pulling this, of course. That is not a bad idea because this thing is a real pain. As you can see, I'm putting my back against the wall because this delightful creature has a very nasty knockback. And the last thing you want is to get all this way and all of a sudden you're pulling more trash that you don't need to pull, all because you get knocked back into it. Not great. So with the bird finally defeated, it's time to jump across. You can see here that there is a large mob that patrols this slime river. We really don't want to pull him. It's just more time. If we can skip it, we're going to. So let him pass us by, and then we're going to head over to the other bank. Now once there, you will need to face these 2 little guys. The first thing you need to know about them is they will put a stat debuff on you. Now granted, it's a pain, but it's not really enough to worry you unless party trick number 2 happens. And that is, like the more rats in Torghast, these guys like to do a runner. Once at low health, they will run off to pull their friends in. And the last thing you want is when you have 50% reduced stats or higher, that a big lumbering Hulk comes in to see what you're up to. Hence why you can see as soon as I jump across the bank and I grab these 2 little guys, I push a little bit further into the platform to give myself a little bit of space, so that should they start running, we have time to react. Now, we shall face the most powerful and undefeatable boss in WoW. What you want to watch out for is, once engaged with a tentacle, these little bomber guys will run in. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Their damage will also hurt the tentacle, but if you are gripped, they're going to hurt you as well. If you have a nasty debuff on you once you've killed this, just simply take a second, sit back down, have something to eat, and top yourself back up to full health. I didn't get that chance because I was hit by the mighty DC ability and was kicked out of WoW. So let's kind of fast forward through all of that. And here we are back in section 3. Now apart from the first tentacle that we kind of DC'd to, all the others can be avoided. Once you're across sort of to the second island, we're just going to charge straight into the little mini boss. As you can see, there's all these canisters around him. If you get them down to low health, death and decay, blood boil, all that kind of thing will easily get them down. They will explode, massive amounts of damage, and as you can see, the boss is down already. Super quick, barely an inconvenience. Next up is section 4, the Lake of Slime. Yeah, what I like to do here is just basically let the giant over on the left hand side do his thing by the waterfall, and then what we're going to do is jump off the stairs and head straight for that little patch of land. Again, if you're worried about taking the dot damage from the slime, just sit down, give yourself something to eat. It isn't 100% needed here because you wouldn't have taken that much damage, but You need to be prepared to do it probably at the end of the slime run that we are about to do. So the idea here is to thread the needle between the pack that you can see on the bank on the left and the big group that are on the island in the middle. Once we've avoided them, once again we need to watch out for the pack that's on the left hand side. And there is a tentacle lurking in the slime to the right hand side. Just keep an eye on that, avoid that, and you will be safely on the far bank. Once there, you probably do want to sit down, grab yourself something to eat. I don't manage to do that actually because I have run out of food. I'm thinking, hey, I'm on a class that can heal myself in combat, so I'm just going to charge straight in and I'm going to heal myself that way. And that leads us nicely into section 5. All that is left now is to clear this trash, and we need to face the last 2 bosses. The trash here is actually a good indicator of what you're going to be facing with Venomblade. We have the Hidden Brood mob, and you actually see here that I'm dropping Death and Decay to try and get it to pop out so it doesn't ambush me. At various points during the fight, small adds will be spawned. They're going to leap away and go invisible. They're going to hide. Using Blood Boil, Death and Decay will force them to appear. If not, they'll just pounce on you after a little while. Be aware that there is one of these with each of the 2 remaining pools when you clear this area, so you don't want to get overwhelmed with mobs. But to be fair, after everything else that you face to get to this point, this really shouldn't be any trouble to bring them down. Just be aware that if you are going to pop any big CDs to try and clear this trash up, it will mean that you may have a little bit of wait time before pulling the boss. But as you're running this solo, it's better to make sure that you get these killed and out the way, and wait a little bit than you die. So now we've seen the route I took, we've navigated our way around the dungeon, let's get into the meat of this. Now to be honest, as I said in the Into the Dungeon section, if you're able to clear the trash needed to get to this point, you're already in a really good position. It's a good indicator that you're going to be able to do this. Now first up, we have Domina Venomblade. The biggest issue we have here is the stun. Accept that it is going to happen, and try to have something lined up ready to protect you. The ability that we're looking for is Shadow Ambush. You're going to take a hit of shadow damage, then you're going to be stunned for around 3 seconds. If you do nothing else, at least make sure your health is topped up when this ability is about to kick off. Preferably have a nice juicy cooldown ready to hit. Now, as I said, I've said this repeatedly, I played this extremely safe, maybe even too much so. I was sat ready with Vampiric Aura, I had my shield trinket, I was just ready if something happened. But you need to remember this, not all stuns are equal. Do not, young man, pop your load too soon. At the start, you have just the boss. And when the boss stuns you, it's fine. The boss can't kill you alone when you're stunned. So you don't need to pop any big abilities. Just make sure you got your health topped up and you're all good. This is when we reach ability number 2. When things start getting interesting. The Brood Assassins. When these spawn in, they will have the Shrouded Web on them. This is easy to see because the assassins are going to be surrounded by patches of webbing. Now, these need to be uncovered ASAP because while they have the shroud on them, they can't be directly targeted. You're going to need to use things like, for the DK Blood Boil, Death and Decay, to pull them out of the stealth. Once out of stealth, they will run towards the boss and get into melee range. It's at this point that you can have, say, 5 mobs or more around you, plus the boss. And that's when the stun can all of a sudden start to hurt you. That's where I would save my defensives. Also, and again, because I was so defensively focused on my build, if you can't kill all those mobs fast enough, you may have another set of mobs that you've got to pull out of stealth, get them in, and suddenly you're just stacking adds and adds and adds, and it can get a little bit crazy. Which adds to the damage you're already taking, ramping up how much danger that stun actually possesses. Once you get a feeling for kind of the rhythm and how things are going and just your movement around the room, you're all good. Now this fight took me around 5 minutes, but at no point did I feel like, oh my god, I'm losing control, I'm about to die. And I was sloppy as hell on this fight because I was really nervous about it. Hence why I know, and as I keep saying this many times, you actually don't need to err so heavily on the side of having defensive abilities. Again, as I said before, Tombstone and some Bloodworms would have actually given me the killing edge with all of these adds, and given me a nice little bit of health back. Because remember, the faster you can kill these adds, and of course the boss, the less you need to worry about all of these stuns going off. So let's jump down into the hole and we shall face our final challenge. Now once you've cleared all the trash around the boss, it's time to deal with Lady Snot. Yes, and then we shall go and collect our mount. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There are two abilities that we need to be aware of. First up is, of course, the Hentai Tentacles. These are so ridiculously easy. If you're used to doing this on Mythic, going and doing it on Heroic will not trouble you at all. Just be aware that they're going to come up and that you are going to need to move. The last thing you want is having got all this way and you die to something stupid like that. The most important mechanic is the Malignant Spawn. Now, this mob will appear around the edge of the ooze pool. The reason this mob is so dangerous is the ability Touch of Slime. Basically what's going to happen is a circle is going to appear at the foot of the mob. That needs to be soaked. Now, if your DPS is low like mine, there is a chance that, like me, you will end up with two spawning at once. If you're extremely lucky, like I was during a lot of this, two of them will spawn right next to each other, and it actually means that the circles will overlap, and you can soak both, at the same time. Sadly, this won't always be the case, and you'll see this on the kill. There are times when two will spawn across from each other. At this point, you are just going to have to take the hit. Prepare your defensives, and once you've got the one down, just get straight to the next one. What they're going to do is, if you manage to soak it, it's only going to do sort of 4,000, 6,000 damage. If you don't soak it, it's going to do an AoE pulse of like 20 odd thousand damage. So just be aware that's going to happen, and as I say, pop your defensive. This is again where a little more DPS would have actually been a massive advantage on this boss, because I wouldn't have had to worry about dealing with two of these at once. Once the tentacles spawn, you've got a little bit of breathing space. Clean up any mobs that are still alive while you're moving around the room, and rinse and repeat. Once you get into the last phase, no more malignant spawns will appear. All you've got to do is deal with the boss and keep moving. And that's it. Do that. Once she dies, the mount is yours. All you need to do is return to the surface. Now, we'll say at this point, do not take the portal on the left-hand side. Don't take it, because that will actually take you back to the entrance of the dungeon. Instead, you want to take the portal pad on the right-hand side as you head back towards the pool in which you drop into. This will take you back to the previous boss area, the Venomblade, the spider boss. And you will see your new mount. Be aware, there is no giant arrow, there is no massive sign saying, "Here be your mount." No. What you want to look for is, around the edges of the area, is the green slime. In that, there'll be sort of a humped back, crazy worm thing. Yeah, that's your new mount. Basically, the way I actually found it, I ended up hovering my mouse over it and just go, "What the hell is that?" Ah, it turned into a little hand, and that told me that was the mount. I go and click on it. Congratulations, you've got your mount. Well done. This is actually really fun, and it's actually a really interesting challenge. It's a shame that currently it's really only tanks that have the best chance to gain this mount, or those with sort of crazy mythic item levels. That's not to say you shouldn't give it a go. You know, you're a BM hunter or something like that, or a warlock, and you have confidence in your class. Just be aware that it is going to be extremely hard, and the lower your eye level, the harder it's going to be. As I said before, if you go in on Heroic and you can't kill, say, the first three trashbacks and the big snot boss that guards the first boss that you get to, is a big guy in the archway. If you can't kill those three, then I would come back another time with better gear, because it's only going to get worse from there. And that is, if I'm being honest, a real shame, because this is really fun and interesting, as I said before. It would be great to have more things like this in WoW, but maybe things that don't always revolve around eye level. Maybe we could have, I don't know, something crazy like a Wing of Torghast that gives you a standard item level when you go in. No matter what your level, you walk in, and it gives you, say, an eye level currently of 220. Everybody gets that. And now, and this is where it becomes a really crazy idea, it is the challenge of the mechanics that are difficult. You need to learn what's happening, you need to use your toolkit to overcome that challenge. It becomes about execution, not about just overgearing. The Mage Tower was great, if you think about that, until the point where your gear becomes just so much higher, so much more powerful, that it lost its sparkle. It just became yet another obsolete feature in WoW. And that's a real shame. But that is enough for me, everybody. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Good luck with gaining your slime serpent. And I will catch you all in the next video. Ladies, everyone.